There you go.
All right, I'd like to call to order the Village of Marvin Parks, Recreation, and Greenway Board meeting here on February 6th, February 2nd at 9:05 a.m. First item on the agenda is call to order and determination of quorum. And I do determine that we do have quorum here with myself, Bob Nunnenkamp, Christina Culp, and Dan Wilson. Kimberly is not virtually attending.
She has had an appointment to make, but she said she's going to try to join later.
Okay.
And I don't know about Sherry. I haven't heard out of her.
Okay. So we do have a quorum. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Christina, I think you had an addition you were looking to make.
Yeah, I would like to have just a short discussion about maintenance of the garden in the park.
Okay. Derek, can we talk to that in the public facility manager's update? Or would that be, what would be the best place to put it?
That'd be new business.
Yeah.
New business, okay, well, we'll stick that in as item number 3 under new business. Do I hear a motion on the table to amend the agenda to include new business item number 3, which is a discussion of the maintenance of the garden at the park?
So moved.
Can I add another thing? I know you want to be done at 10:30, and I swear I'm with you on that.
And you can
But
do. You can
we have
do.
an update about the pocket park as well?
Yes,
And you can put that under unfinished.
okay.
Can I just say that there's no update?
There. Okay. Well, yeah.
I actually do have
Oh, okay, great.
a small update.
Sure.
So,
And you can just do one blanket motion just to adopt the agenda as amended.
okay.
Sorry.
Do I hear a motion on the table to adopt the agenda to include new business item number 3, which is a discussion about maintenance at the park for the garden, as well as an unfinished business item number 2, which will be discussion of the pocket park at Publix?
So moved.
Any further discussion?
I need a second.
Need a
Second.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
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 All right. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the January 5th, 21 minutes, which were previously in our packet. Any changes or edits that anyone feels need to be made to those? All right. Do I hear a motion on the table to adopt the January 5th, 21 minutes as they are written?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next item on the agenda is public comment period, and I don't believe we have any public signed up here. Is there anybody online that wishes to make a public comment? All right. We don't have any public comment for today. We'll move on to the public facilities managers update. First one is item number 1, playground drainage update from Derek.
Okay. The playground drainage was budgeted as a capital improvement project item for this year. And at the recent council meeting, I put forward 3 bids to help fix the playground drainage issues. And there was a contract approved with Brightview Landscaping. That's the same company that did our roundabouts. So I'm hoping to finalize the details of that in the next 24, 36 hours and get that signed off and get that work done before spring hits. Any questions on that?
Just briefly, Derek, if you could describe again, because I know we've tried to deal with these drainage issues in the past in some ways ourselves. And a lot of it is just kind of coming down? What specifically did we bid out, and are we trying to address in what way?
Sure. So the major issue for those that don't know is that the playground is on a hill that was just made of clay. There was no drainage installed underneath it. So the water just sits inside the rubber borders and just slowly seeps into the ground and seeps off to the side. And it's just really created a muddy mess. So what this person has proposed is wrapping the interior of the playground border in a French drain to move that water off of the playground surface, and then some drains on the gutters, and a possible drain underground in the middle of the grassy area to catch any water that does run off, but get it off the surface of the grass as quickly as possible.
So we're talking about as much that area between the porch on the barn and the playground as well, that grassy area, is that what you're referring to, the grassy
Yeah.
area?
Yeah, that and the side where the little bridge is, that grass.
Okay.
Kind of little swell that is designed for the water to come from the bathrooms down and around, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just compacted over the years and is a muddy mess.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Number 2, I proposed the sponsorship structure for the disc golf course at the last council meeting. That was approved in its initial stages. I've still got to, like I said, put together an actual policy for the village to accept sponsorships and send that to our attorney for review. But before we start working on bringing in money for that and for other projects, but the initial steps were approved.
Would that hold true for the exercise equipment as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to focus on just this, one at first. If I have to go out and raise the money, now if other people are going to take it on, then let's, go for it. But for me, I'm going to try to do the disc golf course first.
No, the question was if
The sponsorship money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd have to go through that same process, correct? With
Yeah.
Atrium or Novon or whoever we were going to with the exercise equipment.
What do you mean, same process?
The approval for the donation.
Well, it will fall under what I'm going to submit to council as
That
far
was
as
the
a
question.
policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Once
yours is going to be more of a blanket
Yeah.
way
It'll
for
be-
whatever
yeah.
projects we have for people to make donations.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got
Sponsorships.
this specific structure designed for the disc golf course, and it's like trying to incentivize buying multiple T signs. But that falls under the umbrella of the village bringing in sponsorship money as a whole. And so, the fitness trail and anything else that we decide to do in the future will fall under that policy.
So, good to hear. All right.
Any questions? All right, and then I met recently with the representative from Union Power about any possible berm damage. It was really hard for us to tell if or what damage was done without knowing exactly the state of it prior to their trucks coming in there. He proposed some work in that area that would allow his trucks to get in there in the future if and when they need to get to the power poles for maintenance. And with that would be some taking out of some big trees that are kind of in his way now, adding some smaller screening in replace of that, and then building up a couple areas to help us with our drainage issues, but would not prevent his trucks from getting to where they need to get to. And so I really felt like that was something that was out of my expertise. So I've called our engineer to come in and meet with this guy and, dialogue and give his opinion on it. So I will say that with the recent heavy rains, I have noticed more water in that area, but I don't think it's getting onto the trail.
It's not.
It's getting up next to it and really pooling next to it, but it's not going up over the trail and creating the duck pond that we had a couple years ago, and just inches and inches of water on top of the trail. So it's been a wet time everywhere. There's standing water, so we're fortunate that the trail's still dry and passable. So long story short, I've called the engineer in to meet with the rep from Union Power to decide the best way to move forward.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Yeah, I'm done.
All right.
Thanks for doing that, Derek. This is Dan. I did have one quick question. If they're not going to do something, if it turns out the Union Power is not going to do something, not so sure about taking out big trees. I don't know there's not much close to that anymore. I wonder what he's talking about. Hope it's not too many. But in general, if they're not going to do something to keep the water from the ditch getting into that low area, is that something we're able to do if it turns out
We could
they're not
probably,
going to do it?
Mike could probably contract. I would think so.
Or how do we do stuff like that? Do we get,
Yeah, I would think that our engineer could work with a grading company, maybe one similar that worked on the roundabouts, and and if he determines that we need something there, they could we could hire somebody to do that.
because I looked at it again, and like you said, it is hard to see what was there before versus what was there now. But we do notice a pretty water getting in now where we didn't before, even with some heavy rain. So it does seem like we did have some impact of some sort.
Yeah, I agree. We can see the results without actually knowing exactly what took place. So I think something needs to be done to help. But like I say, I'm hoping the engineer will tell us exactly what we need.
Do you think we have any way in, if they're trying to take out like all the trees along that side, do you think we have any say in that?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not telling us that it has to be done. He's just offering it as kind of like a cooperative effort, and that, if we want his trucks to be able to get in there in the future for maintenance, that he just needs, it's a row of trees that kind of border the woods there. So it's not the entire section of woods, but it's a row, like.
It would be an access through the row that he would need.
Yeah, it would just give his truck better access to that pole. And then, like I said, he says that this is something they do a lot with homeowners. It gives them access in the future, but they'll replace it with like a smaller evergreen type of tree to help maintain the screening feature. So.
Got it. No, thanks again for doing that. That's great.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The next items on the agenda are unfinished business items. First item is review of current trails interactive map.
All right. Sorry, I would ghost it over there, but I also have to use the mouse and keyboard, so. Okay, so last time we talked about this map, it turns out these are really only the trails that we have built, because I didn't include sidewalks. But the concept of this interactive map, and let's say, say you were to click the link to this map, and then you can click any one of these trails, and then we have the option to put some text, some pictures, we can customize it, and I also just added a layer for parking. Some of these trails also don't have parking, actually most of them don't have dedicated parking.
No.
Right. And one of the questions was, people wanted to know where they could drive to park to access these trails. Give me 1 second. So I have a few questions for the board from from this maps perspective and also just a policy perspective. The first burning question I have is, do we want to encourage, through this map, do we want to officially encourage people to park on the side of the street near the trails?
Yes.
Well, when we say side of the street, I think we have to be careful, because a lot of our streets, it's almost dangerous, because there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of shoulder or things like that we can responsibly tell them where to park.
Sure.
Well, for the most part, if you take the preserved walking trail, you have the two cul-de-sacs, which there's no traffic on, and that's where you get the trailhead at each one, at either end of the preserved walking trail. And then Tullamore, you've got to park on the side of the street. You don't have any other option than that. You can either park at the far end of the street or up at the front of the street, because the parking lot disappeared. So your only option is to park on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of Joe Carr, we could recommend people park in the school parking lot and pick up.
Well,
the
and
school
this
doesn't want
brings
that.
us back to the
No, that's
Tullamore Trail parking lot. When we say it disappeared, did we just stop using it as a parking lot, or what was the official thing we ended up doing?
Council.
Oh, it's been grassed in.
Was it?
It's grassed and treed. It's beautiful.
What happened to Tullamore parking lot?
Why are you asking me? Well,
It was
Well, I can see-
it was turned back over to the
It
HOA.
was turned over to Tullamore.
Yeah.
Oh, so we actually turned it over to the HOA?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been treed and grassed, and it's beautiful.
It's not ours anymore.
Okay.
I mean, that was stated before because people weren't using it as a parking lot for the trail.
Well, you see, and that goes back to my concerns even with when we were going through that and making that decision of giving it back, is now we're saying, well, where do we have parking for the trails?
We don't have any.
Understood.
Yeah.
And when we did have it,
Yeah.
all
We
of a
have
sudden.
We have Marvin Elementary School, which people use, but we're building trails in neighborhoods
Yeah.
and with no access or no parking access.
I just feel like with this interactive map, we just need to provide the address or the street for the trailhead, and just say, here's where it is, this is where to park, and head out.
Because here's where I am, is we had one for Tullamore, we had parking for it, which would keep people safe and responsibly off the road, right? The neighborhood says they don't like it for whatever reason, so the decision is made to give that back. What does that say for any potential parking we ever want to have in the future? I guess if we're gonna talk about parking, we've gotta understand what we want for parking, because we had parking before for a natural area for it, right next to a trail, and, the decisions were made that we don't do that, so.
Well, I think frankly, my opinion, we would still have that parking lot if we would have done a good job landscaping for it. That thing was a total eyesore. And I don't blame Tullamore for taking the position they did. I walk that trail all the time, and it was being misused by other people other than people walking the trail. And I hate that we lost it, but it's gone. And the other two are cul-de-sacs. I understand your point,
Quick question.
but we
It
got
sounds like that
other
was
ones.
gone. Is there anywhere else on the Tullamore phases that are gonna happen in the future we can plan parking access, for that section of trail? I mean, this is like we're talking about, we need to be looking, not just now, but the next 5-10 years.
Well, here's my.
Where can we put parking to get access to that trail section, those trails? Like either by the ice cream place or whatever the.
I don't know that there really is.
Or by Union County access to the sewer line.
It's gonna be a challenge when you're building trails in neighborhoods. You know, you're asking for parking lots in neighborhoods, and
There's just
it's not
But
mine.
the town permits the neighborhood to, we permit the neighborhood in the beginning from the developer. So we can, we can make them give it to us in the beginning.
Well, that's what we did, and then we gave it back, because.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, so that one's gone. That one's not coming back. Let's assume that. Where else can we plan parking for this, in the next 5 years as we
Well, one of
around
the,
Tullamore? Is there another spot we could make a parking spot? Can you use the pool?
well, the alternative for Tullamore would be to get Marvin Creek to join in and put a bridge to tie the two together, and then possibly use the parking over at Marvin Creek in that pool area for access to the trail. The amount of people using the trail is just not a whole lot, guys. I mean, it's just not.
It could also not be because it's not all connected up yet and there's
Well, that's true too, Dan. No, that's true.
no parking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So wait, quick question. When we develop out that new section that Rohit's planning on down by where we call it out in our master plan, on Ray Road, is there somewhere that we could get parking there to access? Because this is going to be a whole connected
That's
section
Union
in
County,
5 years.
isn't it?
Yeah, well, if we were to get that property, we could have it annexed, but it's almost all wetlands. I think the idea that was stated a minute before where
Got it.
we might ask the commercial area for some parking would be a better idea when we develop the trails in that property.
What about using the pool? I mean, Marvin Elementary School, isn't there parking area there we can utilize?
They do not like us parking in their parking lot. The school does. The school has asked us to publicize, do not park in their parking lot,
I understand.
especially during school operation.
I understand it.
They need to post signage. That's been a.
But is there enough room on their property
They don't want us
that
doing
you
it.
can see a piece of it, like all the way to the side?
I don't know how you'd enforce that.
Yeah, I think part of it that the school would look from is you're inviting non-parents and stuff to their campus, and the way security things are at schools, they're just very averse to that.
When we build
These
let me ask you a question. As we're building out the village town hall on Marvin School Road, I think that's where it's going to be, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Will that parking lot be adequate to have a couple, for parking for the trails?
It's
We
21
currently have
spaces.
5 more spaces than the minimum.
I'm sorry.
So we currently have 5 more spaces than the minimum planned. Would that be enough?
It's 29 spaces.
I mean, and even all 24 spaces won't be used unless it's like
Yeah, I
a
was just thinking that might
contentious
be a
meeting.
great alternative, pick up the trailhead there because it's literally
Mhm.
connecting. And promote park at the village town hall.
Mhm.
If we've got adequate parking, that would help out a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That would be the most natural spot because we can control it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
I guess can we so We didn't not just take the parking lot down, we actually deeded it back to the HOA.
That's right.
Do you think this should be something that they put forth in their meeting with council
What?
as a discussion?
We'll
Council's thoughts on,
that's
Parking.
that's definitely a good discussion to have. I'll talk about scheduling a joint meeting later on the agenda, but yeah, that's when you guys are thinking of topics, that would be a good one.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll leave this for now. Of course, I'm not publishing this map yet. I gave you all the link, and of course that means anyone with the link can view the map, but it's not like public yet. I do really want to flesh this out.
Well, I was just thinking, like all trails, you can, like on the one trail, the one behind the village hall here,
Mm-hmm.
there's a pretty good little altitude change. You can talk about the length of trail, when that interactive, you put the length,
Yeah.
the altitude change, where where you park, and make it simple for people to use these trails.
Yeah.
And to your point, Ro, have pictures like you're suggesting there.
Right. So I've added some pictures since the time I sent it to you guys, but basically now you can click a trail and you can see a picture of the trail too. So you got a picture, a description. I can add the length, and it'll look pretty like that.
The preserve walking trail is a beautiful trail, and they did a great job on it, whoever did it.
I think it looks better with showing the neighborhoods.
Oh, showing the neighborhoods?
Mhm.
Like, okay, that makes sense.
Just things are like more identifiable.
I have two questions.
Okay.
On your map, you've got green trails and one brown one. What does the brown one mean?
The brown one was specifically a horse trail when it was built. It's like a 4-foot wide
Okay.
natural trail. So, I think I have a picture of it somewhere.
it's not operational.
Really straight.
It's really not much of a trail at this point.
Yeah, it's probably not maintained.
I wouldn't even
Has nature
include
kind of
it.
overtaken it, or
What's that?
has nature kind of retaken it?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the one we want?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, nature has taken it.
That could be fun,
That's right.
actually. And it's probably full of horse manure, so it's probably really nicely green.
There's no horses go on it at all.
I mean, all the horse manure, which is the best kind.
Okay.
Second thing, you said you didn't sidewalks. If sidewalks were connections between trails or to parking or something like that, would it be worth adding that like in a different color or something?
Yeah, I did make this connection where technically the Greenway stops like quite a bit before the sidewalk, but I just drew the sidewalk in like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Marvin Creek sidewalks are technically private, so we're not supposed to, display them as part of our Greenway network.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's pretty well known that you can take our trail and then walk through the neighborhoods. I see people do that all the time. Like, even for the Bell Grove Trail, I was out there one day, and I saw people walking up and down the road. It's a quiet, mostly unbuilt neighborhood, so, I mean, your ability to walk is not limited to these lines on the map. It's just that these are our...
Yeah, I can't imagine that people look at a sidewalk. This is a private sidewalk, I'm not allowed to walk on it. I mean,
Right. We're just...
okay, so we don't want to publicize sidewalks for obvious reasons, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think this is great though, it's so much fun. Just play with the map.
Yeah.
You've done a nice job on
Yeah,
that.
that's a good job.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So...
One more question about the parking.
Yeah.
Where there's that straight section kind of parallel to Ray Road, that, the pool is.
Yeah, you're talking about Amber
All
Meadows.
that land, is that county land or is that the
Oh.
neighborhood?
Wait, parallel section,
To Ray Road.
parallel to Ray Road.
In Tullamore, like whatever that phase is, that's dead ends there.
Yeah, the Amber Meadows is our trail. We have the easement and it's built. I don't have any pictures of it, but that was the last thing I was gonna ask you guys, is if you guys can
There's a
send me
reasonable
pictures.
amount of space there.
Oh, I will, I'm glad to.
Thanks.
There's a reasonable amount of space there to be able to at least let several vehicles park there if we wanted to build that out as any kind of parking. I think, depending on who owns what, there's access to, we can't block this Union County access to the pipe, the sewer pipe there,
Right.
but there's actually a reasonable amount of space there that I'm guessing is not owned by the neighborhood.
Oh, I think you might be talking about the drive access to that sewer area. Yeah, that would be a Union County easement. We could find out. I mean, Derek, do you want to find out, or did we already find out that we can't use that?
Oh, no, I think we'd have to look exactly who owns that land.
Yeah.
And see.
It's right across from MSA's entrance, is what
Yeah,
I'm thinking about.
I know where you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, a strip of that is the county sewer,
Yeah.
but as far as like a parking lot, I don't know what we would have as a possibility there. It's not a bad idea. I'm pretty sure it won't go over well with Amber Meadows.
Yeah, I agree with that. Amber Meadows would not like the idea.
But they
But-
may not have a say. I mean, they did give us, like, that's their neighborhood,
Right.
where their trail is.
Well, they gave us the trail, but they can use the trail, right? They're not going to use the parking. The parking is for other people, right? That's why I think, in general, people aren't favorable to parking lots, because it's always going to be used by other people.
Well, and that's the great conundrum in this whole situation, right? Like, parking is inviting outsiders into.
Yeah, I mean, I
We're creating
but
private
the
trails,
cities are not
essentially.
paying the money for the trails, the towns, the villages, and so, there are gonna be people that don't like things, but, I think if we're not providing access to other village residents, we also have an issue there with using village money to build out these trail sections.
I've said that for a long time, that we shouldn't be in the business of building neighborhood amenities, but I'm on staff, I'm not supposed to say anything. But I am a resident too, so my taxpayer money.
So, I mean, I understand the concerns, and it's something to consider, but do you think, if anything, we need to be sure we have and keep, access to the trails properly?
Dan, I agree 100%.
Well, I think you said like an ideal number of cars. I mean, I don't think from what I've seen, it doesn't have to be anything huge.
No.
It could be 2
4 or 5.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
I was thinking 4.
Yeah.
Like 2 and 2. If you can identify some areas for that and
Yeah.
let that be known to council that you want to make that a priority. Even if it, like Dan said, it's sidewalk connectivity.
Does the problem get solved a little bit?
Sorry.
Just to get solved a little bit in the future as we connect, pieces of this together so that we, in effect, have longer trails? So you
Yeah,
need
of course.
less parking,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
So you have it in one place instead of 10?
yeah, that's what strategic planners do.
Real quick.
They,
Yeah.
Is the Tullamore Trail gonna connect to the Amber Meadows Trail?
yes.
Yeah, well, we're working on that. We have to get the county and Pulte to donate us that property that is in between them.
Okay.
But I've been talking to them, and they're almost done building that townhome neighborhood, and
Right.
they seem receptive to that.
Oh, that'd be great.
Like, what they want in return is for us to also have connectivity to that neighborhood when we build out the trails.
Well, the reason I'm asking the question, you got that parking lot for the shopping center back
Right.
there. And there's an extensive amount of parking back there.
Yeah.
For the number of stores. So if you were somehow able to connect the Amber Meadows Trail
Mm-hmm.
via a bridge over that
Right.
berm, and then connect those two trails, you would have the parking right there, and
Right,
nobody would be offended.
Yeah, Dan said that earlier too, and I completely agree with that. That would be better. Yeah.
That would be the way to handle that.
Yeah, we just need something,
Yeah, that's
This is
actually
the
pretty
least-
easy to connect.
this is the
I don't know
least
who owns
used
what,
area.
but there's a tiny bridge that goes across the stream, and you're like 100 feet through, and even along a berm that's on an infiltration basin. So
How much did it come up as?
it's not a huge lift to get back from those, where the pizza place is and everything like that, parking there into what we already have now. Depending on who owns what and what's controlled.
Right.
Oh,
Let me just-
so I mean, right now that's just 300 feet from the parking lot to the trail, and you wanted to just take this out to,
To the end of that side
Yeah.
that's already
See,
made.
that'd
Yeah.
be great.
that's 0.3 miles. And then of course, like I said, we also have to connect the townhome neighborhood.
0.3 miles?
Yeah,
Well, the townhome,
we'll probably be connected
It's
by
there,
this,
yeah.
right? Yeah, that makes sense.
so 0.3 miles plus 300 feet?
No, it's
That's
total,
total.
total 0.3 miles.
Oh,
You might also think even like a Rosati's or the custard place, I mean,
they might want that.
that's kind
Yeah.
of a draw for
They
them to
might
bring people
sponsor
in,
it
you know?
because of the time.
Yeah, pizza and custard, go
And you have Novant?
up and then
too,
eat
don't you?
4,000 calories. I'm in.
Novant, so I think they've got a building there.
Yeah,
They may want
I
to
think
do
so.
something.
I think it could be built for well under 20.
mhm. Cool. We just need to get that property on lock.
Doing the initial math.
Cool.
That'd be a big win.
Well,
I've
I'm
said-
working on it.
I've said for a while that we've done so much with Tullamore 1 and 2 that we need to finish it out.
Yeah.
I know that some people have said, well, we're focusing too much on this neighborhood in the north. We need to focus on
Yeah.
other neighborhoods.
Well, the preserve is going to be our next project according to the CIP if the council adopts it.
The preserve internal.
Yeah.
That'll be a big one.
Yeah. That would be over.
But I agree with you, Derek, it'd be nice to finish one up, you know?
That's roughly the preserve
Yeah.
trail.
How much does it come out to?
0.8 miles.
Bring your thoughts and concerns to council.
Yeah.
Let them, tell them what you want.
That's all I've got for this map. I'm just open to any improvements or recommendations. Of course, any descriptions or pictures that you guys want to send to me.
I'll get that.
And I'm seeing that I'll still wait to publish this to the public until you guys have a parking discussion with council. So because that was, like I said, that was one of the questions and reasons why this interactive map thing came up, because people wanted to know where to park. So are there any other comments about the map? I know we've had a lot of conversation about the trail network itself, which we probably shouldn't have, because
I
supposed to be talking about the
I
map.
would
Let
just
it go,
say,
because
I
it's related.
want to be careful about actually publicizing that we're encouraging people to park on the.
Right, and that's why I wanted to run it by you guys first. I didn't want to assume that that's what, like from a policy perspective, that's what
Yeah,
we're
if
doing.
people do it, that's one thing, but
Yeah.
I don't know that you're just from a safety
Right.
standpoint that's something we want.
I might want to get council's direction on that before putting it on the map. But yeah. Okay. That's it. Then that's it.
Good job.
Oh, Kim's here too.
How was she been there?
I don't know, but I've been sharing, so I didn't see the participants list.
I know, it's okay.
Oh, I've been here for a while.
Okay.
I've been listening. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay. Moving on to item number 2 in unfinished business, discussion of Pocket Park near Publix. And this is really just a short update that I can provide. In the last meeting, I had committed to reaching out to the store manager there. So I did. Actually, I spoke to the assistant manager at first, Brian, and essentially told him that I was looking to meet with the store manager. Just, we're thankful that they provided that donation of the property, that we're in the process of starting to put together some ideas of what we're gonna do with it. And that in the interest of just being good neighbors, wanted to kind of give them an idea of what we're kind of looking at. And I also, told them that when we spoke about it last month, they're currently maintaining some of that, and also just to kind of gauge their interest in either continuing to maintain some of those areas to help save us from a maintenance perspective, or, if that's not possible, maybe some cost sharing, because it might be more economical for us to kind of give them some money to have their landscaping company continue to take care of it. Couple of interesting things about that piece of property. Most public sites are actually owned by some other developer, and then they're just tenants. That's not the case here at that public site. This public site actually is owned by Publix, so they are in charge of all the surrounding maintenance and stuff like that. They are open to either of those things. I did show them the draft map that Christina had provided last month and talked to them about it, and they said, well, we don't have a say in it anyway. And we said, yeah, but again, we're just trying to be good neighbors, and certainly we kind of see this as an opportunity that, your customers, your employees are going to be natural fits, and just wanted to make sure that you knew what were there. So this is when I met in person with Brian and Megan, the store manager. And they were both very open to it. They said that, of course, they don't make decisions for their store all by themselves, that, once we get into any sort of conversation about the maintenance that eventually would be, because I told them, at this point, it's helpful to us that they are kind of just mowing those strips of grass and things, around it right now, that parking lot area. That eventually, as we develop the interior of it, that we would likely take on, we develop it in a way that's kind of natural, but also take on, some of the maintenance for the internal part of it, but that we still, we're hoping that we could work with them on, kind of the border landscaping and stuff like that, since they already have a company doing it. They seemed very amenable to that. We'll just get back to them as, we continue to kind of refine what we're looking to do there. And then they would kind of bring in some other folks from a regional perspective, from a Publix management standpoint. But,
Okay, perfect.
So that's, and I talked to them about, sponsorship, opportunities and things like that in the future as well.
Great. Actually, that does remind me, I guess I do have a small update, which is that the council really liked the sketch. They did vote, right? They voted to approve the sketch?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so they voted to approve the sketch as the plan for the park. Sorry. So that's my update.
Nice. So what does that mean, are the next steps?
We're still working on the legal. I didn't realize it would take this long, but as soon as we actually own the property, they're gonna deed it to us, and when we own the property, that's when we can start getting bids for it. That's the next step.
Yeah, that's kind of important.
Yeah.
You're right.
So that's where we're at right now on that.
Hey Rohit, is this little pocket park gonna have a name, or is it just gonna be called
That's a question for
park?
everyone. Actually, it would be nice if it had a name, but there's no.
Why don't we sell the naming rights?
Oh gosh.
Publix might want it as the Publix pit stop or something.
This is getting a little out there, but would you be opposed to, like, if I got, like, the schools to have a naming contest or something like that? I mean, that's a lot of work, but it gets kids involved in the, understanding it and what its purposes are for wildlife and things like that.
The what?
Oh, yeah. Okay, you could say so.
You could dedicate it to a former
Dan,
mayor.
I don't hate that idea. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Did we already do a dedication for that?
No.
Yeah, that happens.
I don't think we have.
I thought we did.
A
What?
dedication for what?
For Publix giving that land. I thought Joe, or am I thinking of another one we did?
I think that was the grand opening of Publix, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's what it was. Because I talked about that with the folks,
Mhm.
and they were like, we did a dedication. And so, okay, it was a dedication of the Publix being there,
Yeah.
not necessarily the park.
Right. We
Okay.
they did agree to, and maybe you're thinking of this other thing, is that they did agree to dedicate the park. We just have to, we're working through the legal part of it right
Gotcha.
now.
Okay.
How do we proceed with that?
See what
The
the-
legal, our attorneys,
No, the deciding on how we're gonna name it.
oh, I
That's a
think that's just
discussion
the
for the
council.
board and council to have.
Yeah, it's probably just a council decision. Might be
Okay.
another topic for your joint meeting.
Yeah. Any further discussion on the Publix Pocket Park? Okay, moving along to new business item number 1, discussion of statement of economic interests and code of ethics forms.
I'll keep this brief. These are due every year. I put them in your packet. They are due by April, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too.
If your statement of economic interest form hasn't changed since last year, you can just send me the last page of it, write no changes on it, and sign in the appropriate places. And I'll staple it to your one from last year. And then the code of ethics forms is just one page you have to sign. So you have to, they're due by April. That's all. That's all for
That's
that.
it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next item is discussion of scheduling a joint meeting with the village council.
So the planning board has agreed, they have recommended to use a doodle poll to schedule their joint meeting with council, and they're going to do that within the first 2 weeks of March. So I was going to give you guys the same option. So I basically would send you guys a couple dates, like maybe up to 4 dates, and you guys can just pick what works for you and what doesn't. Council will get the same options, and based on what works for the most people, that would be the date. Do you guys want to do your joint meeting in the second half of March or the first 2 weeks of April, somewhere around there? That's just to kind of give you guys time to think of topics, to talk about your priorities and everything.
Kim, when is y'all's spring break?
Good point.
Spring break starts the 1st of April.
And it runs the following full week after Easter, right? So it's like
Yeah, I don't think we get back until
12th.
the 12th, technically, but that's a remote day, so really the 13th is the first day we're back in the school.
Okay. So that would bump,
Yeah,
probably need to bump PRG back a week too.
that's already been bumped.
Is it?
That's
Okay.
that's in the meeting schedule.
So that's already a meeting then, the second week of April.
Yes, that's already a meeting day.
Well,
So just keep that in mind.
yeah, so right now,
You
we
guys.
still have one meeting the beginning of March scheduled.
Mhm.
First week.
If we want to use that to kind of brainstorm topics for
Mhm.
a meeting in late March, because I think some of this, we want to have sooner rather than later, because otherwise we start running into
Mhm.
budgeting process and budgeting workshops from a council perspective, right?
Yeah, well, budget work sessions are in the evenings before regular council meetings.
Well, I
Yeah.
didn't mean just the timing,
Mhm.
but everything going
Yeah,
on
the
and
focus of-
having
yeah.
appropriate time to kind of digest
Yeah, I think he's talking
what
about
might come out of that
Yeah,
joint
sure.
meeting,
I got
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'd say probably sooner rather than later in late March, mid to late March.
So I'll send out dates for the last 2 weeks of March.
Does that sound good, Kimberly?
Sounds good to me.
Council have a work session one of those weeks.
They'll have a work session the last Thursday of March, but we can
Yeah.
work around that.
Okay. So you'll send out times for all of us.
I'll take care of it.
We got,
All right.
we can work on both dual poles sometimes.
And then item number 3, which we added under new business items, is discussion of the maintenance of the garden at the park. Christina?
So, I was talking with Mary Stipe, recently, Bob and I were in, Olive Marsh, actually, we had a meeting. And she was talking about the flower garden and that grass area, near the front parking lot of the park, and that it needed some maintenance. And I'm curious as to how happens and what we need to do to help out there. I don't want to use the word fair, but I don't think it's reasonable there to expect Mary to be, the sole support of that garden. It's a rather large garden, and she's only one human, and so I'm wondering what we can do to help just better maintain that space. It needs a little bit of work. It's nothing terrible, but it needs some gravel, and it needs some mulch, and it needs some weeds pulled, and regular garden upkeep.
I think having a work day, I'd certainly.
Which garden are we talking about?
The
garden
cottage
at the park, at Eford Park, when you first drive in, when you're coming in, it'll be on the left, that first parking lot.
We identify it as the cottage
It's
garden.
really bad connection today. I'm losing so much of the meeting. Go ahead. Continue, I'm sorry.
And the actual trail kind of comes right through.
Were you able to hear that time?
Yeah, I got it. Thank
Okay,
you.
so, yeah, right now it doesn't look like much
Sorry, I'm muted so that there's no feedback.
Okay.
because it's, off season, but.
What's growing in there?
Oh, there's a lot of different, mostly pollinator type plants, so a lot of lantana, black-eyed Susans, there's just all kinds of stuff in there.
Okay. Is there a possibility we can do, I know we're doing social distancing and stuff now, but like a community thing? Or, put it out to the community and try to get a group of volunteers together, or a Girl Scout project or something like that? It is outdoors.
All of the above.
Yeah,
Well, that's kind of what I'm throwing this out here for. What can we do?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I would agree, and we could call it a work day, but if we want to reach out to specific groups like the Girl Scouts or the Beta Club or, people that typically look for service hours, but then also, we've done those before, and I'm willing to come out and bring some kids, I think if we just target a date, we've generally gotten pretty good response to those in the past. The most important thing for those is kind of the pre-planning that we have to do,
Yeah.
so that we make good use of those resources once they get there, because it's kind of like herding cats anytime you get a group of volunteers together. I think the first thing, for somebody that would be best to understand what needs to be done is to maybe go there and take an inventory of the smaller projects that need to be done. And then we can kind of, take a look at setting a date and, probably we'd want to do that sometime in March. So have that, list of things we need to do on the agenda for the beginning of March, and set a date, maybe like a Saturday morning starting at 10 a.m. or something like that on a weekend in March.
I'm happy to go out and make a list of and make a plan. That's easy. It'll be really easy to do. But so one of my questions is, how do we get things like mulch and gravel delivered or paid for? I don't even know how the process works.
We would probably just do that out of the operating budget.
Okay. And so we could let me just work this all the way out. If I come up with a plan, we come up with a date, and we get actual bodies that can work, and we've got tools and everything that we need, then we would have the mulch delivered, the gravel delivered, and we'd all be ready to go.
Yeah, if you can spearhead the organization of it, I can tell you what we can provide from a staff level, tools. I can recruit some volunteers, and we can put it all together and make it happen.
And frankly, it's one of those things that I think too big here. If 20 people showed up, that's actually probably going to be stepping on each other. So it is something that a relatively small group of people can get done inside of, part of a day.
Well, if we get 20
Who's the first
people,
pass?
we'll find something else for them to do.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you can make a list too, Garrett.
Yeah.
And here's the thing though, the weeding of a garden is a never-ending task, right? So the idea that we could do it one day in March and that would be the last time we had to do it, yeah, I wish. So it may be something that we need to consider, and I would like your thoughts on this, that we have sort of the garden team, that, it's for people that are, maybe it's not even, that are willing to kind of help maintain the garden, instead of just relying on one.
I believe a couple of years back, we at Marvin, there was kind of a Marvin garden tour that was done. And I don't know that that was specifically sanctioned by the village, but it was a group of different, gardeners around Marvin that opened their gardens, and they kind of, had it all plotted out on a map where people drove by. I can kind of refer back and see if some of those people that were involved.
Marsh, is that about that?
That was Marsh.
Was it Marsh?
Yeah,
Christina was part of
That
that.
was Marsh.
Okay.
Yeah, the garden
Okay.
was part of it, and we were part
Yeah,
of it.
Okay, because, those are the people that might naturally, think, and
Well,
then
that's
the other,
Rob and Mary.
yeah, and then the other thing is that, we do provide the garden boxes and things, so, if we even have those people's names on an email list, we might talk to them about forming a group within themselves where they not only take care of their plants in the garden there, but that they also contribute to helping take care of the cottage garden out front.
And my only hesitation on that is that the way in which most of those boxes have been taken care of does not give me a lot of hope that there's like an organized effort going on there.
That's because
People like to garden in the spring, and then when, the sun hits the, 95 degrees, they don't want to do it anymore. And I don't either.
Yeah.
It's
nobody's using the garden boxes right now. We need a mass campaign to get people to sign up for them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, that's why they look awful, because between the shutdown 2 years ago and COVID this past year, nobody's, it just hasn't been as popular of an amenity as it was in the past.
Derek, is there water access to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like 6 hose bibs.
Yeah, maybe that's something that we want to start getting out right
You need to
now.
promote that.
It is promoting.
because there's
Yeah,
I don't think
huge amount,
many people.
there's a huge amount of
know that.
interest in growing their own food and all that, to the point that it's hard to find seeds, which is an insane idea to me, but
Yeah.
true.
so let's make sure we advertise the garden boxes through any of our newsletters and whatever communications we're sending out in the next, in the next month or so.
That's on my list already.
And Cam, are you good with having community gardens in the communications?
Absolutely, I think that's a great idea.
I actually, I will ask some of my master gardener friends as well that live around here if they would be willing to take one on here, and take a couple on, just as a, this is how you do it thing. And maybe that would help, because I think some people have, they have this great idea that they're gonna plant all this stuff, and then the weeds come and the bugs come, and it's like, this is hard,
Yeah,
and just need a living, and that's okay. The master gardeners are trying to do more work on the west side of the county, so this might be an option. I can't promise anything, but I can ask.
What if the idea of putting something out to the school, and school wants to create a gardeners club? We'll do two things: help with volunteer hours for students that are looking for college, and maybe start a new club at the school.
Yeah, when I mentioned the Beta Club before, that's typically the group within the school that's looking for service hours. So that is one group that we regularly reach out to for these things. But certainly, yeah, that's a good idea. I just don't know if the school right now is really into kind of gathering the kids together for things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's, part of the challenge of the environment we're in right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding with schools in general. They are just so overwhelmed. Get the minimal work done, that adding something on top just, it's not a good time. But it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And that community garden area, or whatever we call that area over there, it's huge. I don't remember how many boxes are over there, but there are plenty.
I think it's like a dozen at least, yeah.
Oh, I think it's more than that.
And they're pretty
I'll
large.
go over here and look. But it's a lot.
How do the boxes work again?
You rent them. I forget how much it is. Is it $20 or $30 for the season?
Yeah, I think it's around that. I forget the actual numbers.
Completely responsible.
24 maybe?
$24 a box.
That's no 24 boxes. I can't remember.
Are there
the price is.
restrictions for what?
What price?
I don't guess you could grow anything illegal, but other than that,
Shucks, no marijuana plant?
no, not yet. I think probably most people use them for vegetables,
Okay.
but
Yeah, that's what we've seen in the past, mostly vegetables.
I think that if you're gonna grow some vegetables and somebody else wants to grow some flowers, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
We need both.
something like that, okay.
Or
And
like a cutting garden, where you just cut flowers or something, that would be great.
And they pay that to those Marvin,
$20.
Yeah.
a link on the website, Marvin's website for,
Yeah.
how much was it, Rose?
$20.
Yeah, Rohit just checked. It's $20 per box.
And we do advertise this on our website already. We have a dedicated spot for it. But
Okay.
But we will add it to the communications.
Yeah.
On the website?
Yeah, there is a spot on the website that we have information about it, but it probably could use some additional advertisement over the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
I tell you
I'll
later.
send something out to the Master Gardeners.
I'll tell you about it later.
I can also send out something on our newsletter. If you're interested in that, it goes out to all of Union County. Obviously, just people on this side don't probably care, but we can get some attention for it if you'd like.
Yep.
okay.
All right.
It's nice for people who,
What was that?
it's nice for people, I mean, even groups, organizations that can't grow vegetables or don't want to grow vegetables because they live in a community where there's a lot of fertilization and chemical spraying. We don't do any of that there in the park, right? Do we? These or anything?
You're kind of in and out on us, Sharon.
I think the question was, do we do any type of fertilization at the park?
Or spraying?
Fertilization.
Or pesticide spray?
Not that I'm...
Yeah, that's a question for
Okay.
Derek, I suppose, but.
That's something that we definitely play up in our advertisement. If you're looking for vegetables that are, where there's no chemical sprays being used, rent a plot out at Marvin Efron Park, Because I think that's a big thing for people. I know it is for me anyway.
Yeah, it could be a big selling point if in fact that's true. We need to check on that.
Yeah, we'd have to
I
ask
was
Derek.
surprised we weren't using some kind of stuff.
I think they do, insect sprays in other areas of the park every once in a while, but
Not in the garden area.
but not necessarily the garden area. Well, like I know we spray for poison ivy
Mm-hmm.
on the trails,
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you gonna do, right? You
Yeah.
got to. Oh, but that have another question. If I have plot A and you have plot B and you've decided that you're leaving a roundup, or, do I have any control over that? Or do we have rules about that, in the, key rent thing?
Yes, Derek.
Yeah, I think we do have a set of kind of common rules that we had developed a long time ago for that. We have to kind of revisit that, so maybe we can gather some of those resources for next meeting.
That'd be perfect.
And just have it on the agenda as a discussion item.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, if those are on the website, I'll just go look them up too.
Yeah. Take a look at it too.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry.
Just trying to think how we can also account for volunteers, to make it part. Maintain the gardens, like the volunteer part. But no, kids are always looking to get volunteer hours for community service for college, but a lot of kids don't want to get their hands dirty.
I know.
But that's dirty,
What's the question?
I don't know.
They had questions about.
Yeah, Derek.
I have no idea.
Derek's back.
Again, we think it's a huge number of people.
Did we have any specific rules about the utilization of Roundup or things like that in the boxes, or do we do any general insecticide spraying or anything like that around that area?
I will have to check as far as the rules. I think there is
We did have some ground rules.
ground
I
rules
think,
for
at one
community
point.
gardens.
That ground rules, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and we'll get
Yeah.
what we have together for
Derek,
next meeting and make
we
it
could bring that with us.
a. Okay.
We're just thinking, Derek, that we could promote that it was, safer, we were doing safer practices there. We don't have to call it, organic, but that we're doing safe practices. That would make people more interested in growing their vegetables there.
yeah.
All right. Any further discussion on maintenance of the gardens at the park? And, at this point, I think through our discussion, we'll try to target maybe a work day in mid-March that we can discuss at our next meeting. And in the meantime, maybe reach out to some different interested people or groups, to start to kind of advertise that fact.
Yeah, probably community college to see if, I don't know, I'll just dig around. See if I can come up with that.
Well, and here's the thing to keep in mind, everybody. If we have a work day in March, we could turn right around and have another work day in April, in May, in June, we could do this every month.
Oh, good.
If you
We
want to,
get a large group of people that are not all available on the same day, that's okay.
Yeah, that's true.
if you want to pencil in February 20th, I have proposed. There's a group that needs some hours, so I proposed that as a garden bed cleanup day. Depending on the size of the group, we could go ahead and start to tackle some of these other things. Christina, I know that's soon, but
Oh, that's fine.
2.5
Oh,
weeks
it's easier.
away.
Yeah, it's easier to
Saturday,
do it
February
now.
20th? Okay.
Okay, that's,
Yeah.
what do we do?
It's a work day, garden work day.
Pencil in Saturday, February 20th as a possible volunteer work day. Sherry?
Okay, that's February 20th.
And what would you say,
Derek,
like 10
I'll go
a.m.?
to I'll go to the park this week, now that the sun came out, and look around and just get a plan for that main front garden and I don't know, whatever you call that hill between the barn and the parking area that's got some plants in it.
The hump,
Oh, the berm.
the berm.
Yeah.
Derek, I'm sorry, did you say February 20th or March?
February, when it's nice and cold. February.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
It's perfect time.
Do we?
We have
do we
weeds.
wanna set a
We have weeds
tentative-
every day around here.
What about 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock sound
And
good?
we could do we can do communications on this too. We can put that in a newsletter saying volunteer work day to
Yeah.
serve the community at the park.
And I would also note in that if anybody needs service hours, you know, we'll be able to provide service hour affirmations or whatever.
So what time were you guys thinking?
10.
10 a.m.?
10's wonderful.
We're talking about the same thing. That's February 20th, right?
Yeah. So the way I see it, we could get a lot of weeding done that day, and then we can add mulch after that.
Two things I just want to throw out there and see what everybody thinks. One is, do you think we can have any businesses to see if they want to donate coffee or
I think we're getting this.
whatever, something like that,
Yeah.
waters, just to, post it out to, the sponsors, like it's a sponsor, like part of our Marvin Garden sponsor group. And then maybe we can make this like a reoccurring thing. We could start out, like do an event in the spring, and maybe it will encourage and bring people in, have an interest in the park. Oh, Dunkin' Donuts is sponsoring, they're gonna be donating, whatever. Publix is gonna be donating, whatever, just throwing it out there. See what
Publix is
everybody-
offering.
I think that might be a good idea longer term. What my experience has been with these in the past is that if we get folks there, 20, 30 people there, maybe even 12 at 10 a.m., people are going to start petering out at around noon anyway. You can usually get about 2 hours of dedicated focus especially when they're kids,
I can buy a case of water for $3. It's easy.
Yeah, we'll provide water for right now, but I think that would be a good thing if we make it more of a regular thing, and then perhaps we get some of those in place.
I was hoping to kind of instill not just a community volunteer thing, but like a social thing. So people meet each other. Oh, this is part of our community. Oh, look, our local community Dunkin' Donuts donated coffees, and I mean, I'm not pushing it. I'm just thinking where my thoughts are. I would be happy to reach any of those, vendors and see if they wanted to contribute. You don't have to answer it, just ponder that idea. And then the other thing is, in terms of trying to get groups to volunteer, I know when I worked with like juvenile justice system up north, there were always like youthful offenders that sometimes had to get community service. And they were always looking for places to get community service. What do you think of that? Potentially I can reach out to the sheriff's department and see if, you have any kids that need to do community service.
That's a good idea.
Think about it, you don't have to answer now, ponder that. I mean, these aren't kids that are, committing heinous crimes.
Right.
Usually, things that require community service and in lieu of something else, a fine or whatever.
Yeah.
Anybody can weed. If they have eyeballs and hands, they can weed.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
I want-
I will say this, guys. If we start promoting a lot of activities and events, be ready for somebody to complain about it, that it's not safe and all that. So, because the master gardeners are having this problem right now. So let's make sure that we're very, very clear that everybody's going to socially distance and we're going to be safe and whatever that all means.
Right. Well, people just wear their masks if they feel
Ah,
that it's sure to wear.
They don't have to.
yeah, can.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be cold.
All right. last is agenda items, review of action items, Austin.
Okay, just a few. Before I really get into this, did you guys get direction on like, talking about parking? That idea with Amber Meadows? You guys was that an action item?
I think that was more of a
Town council.
topic for a joint meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so no direction on there. So we will send out a doodle poll to schedule that joint meeting for late March. I will add advertising the community gardens and the work day to the February list of communications, and you guys will reach out to interested groups about the work day for February 20th, March and April dates to be determined.
Right. Sounds good.
That's all I got.
Sound good?
All right. Next item on the agenda.
I'm gonna, yeah, but we also need a plan, so I'm gonna work with Barry and get a plan for office maintenance work, right?
For the 20th.
Just throw people out
Yep.
there. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is board. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
In terms of, oh, sorry, I don't think it's an action item, I'm not sure it is, but in terms of the results from what the co-op says in terms of what to do along the ditch there, along the loop trail, do you think we'll get a chance to review that as a board prior to action being taken on it by the co-op?
If you want to, if you want that recommendation put forward to council, I guess, Kim, could that be done? I'm supposed to bring a follow-up to them at their February work session. Was that like the 22nd, 24th, the last week of February? So the timing would be a little bit off if they were to make any decision that day, but I don't know that they would since it's a work session.
I did lots of jobs where, like, the electric guys come out and they'll just clear anything they want, which is fine, which is totally what they need to do, but, you know, there's some nice trees there that I'm not sure we want to give up without understanding what they're actually going to do, that kind of thing.
I agree.
I agree.
Completely agree.
I agree too.
Thank you, Dan, for saving our trees.
We don't need to do any more deforestation.
All right, moving on to board member comments. Online, Christina?
I don't think I have any comments. Thank you.
Dan?
I just had one question about the structure of the donation for the, that you were able to set up, Derek. And I know this isn't a comment, so sorry for bringing it up now, but like if I'd like to, you know, my company might be very interested in for that. Did that go into the general fund, or how do those donations work that you set up? And we can talk about it offline if that's easier for everybody, but I guess I didn't pick that up on the discussion.
Okay, I'll call you. Bob and I will call you.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I think Derek mentioned earlier that they're still trying to work through how sponsorship donations and stuff like that can occur.
Okay. Thank you.
Shari?
Nope. Thank you.
Bob?
I'm fine.
Kimberly, anything from you?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
And I'm good as well, so. Okay. Do I hear a motion on the table to dismiss the Village of Marvin Parks Recreation Greenway Board meeting here at 10:24 a.m. on February 2nd, 2021?
So moved.
So,
All in favor say aye.
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 so moved.
Bye.
Thank you.
We did it.
Thank you.
Two
Good job.
things the next one's